Hazrat makes pray for the honor of Sheikh Mufid. God Almighty says in the Quran, the honor is in the presence of God Almighty. Well, what does that mean? That means the closer a person to the God Almighty and the Divine, the greater his honor will be. And the more a person moves away from the Divine, the less his honor will be, until he will no longer have any honor at all. Many of us who especially have a taste of Sufism, or Sufism has influenced them. They know God's closeness in other things. But God's closeness means that even though man must observe God's piety, but it must show in his action. You see, all those who became close to God, they were not only those who choose the corner of solitude and worship of a person we consider to be in the best state. Who performs those acts of worship? Does the people who are close to God as a person in worship only? They were a right hand of the Imam Zaman. We go back to, for example, at the time of Prophet Muhammad, Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib was constantly as a man of action, either in the time of war, who took sword in the hand and attended in the first line of war, or in the time of peace, who was working with other people. He was farming, gardening, digging wells and aqueducts, animal husbandry, and so on. In one of the hadiths narrated that Qasem gave a fatwa against the order of Holy Prophet of Islam next to the house of God. And in any case, they sent after Ali ibn Abi Talib. It is mentioned there that Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib was preparing food for livestock, and they didn't even give him time to change his clothes. They took him in presence of Khalifa. And this, of course, is one of the suffering of the universe, one of the sufferings that have befallen humanity, that someone who has been appointed by God Almighty as the Khalifa of the Messenger of God act this way. Qasem, who was no value in this regard, and the Prophet didn't appoint him. Qasem, who has no value in this regard, and the Prophet did not appoint him, but called Ali ibn Abi Talib in that situation and bring him to answer the Khalifa.